The massive alien ship appeared in Earth's solar system without warning. It was bigger than any space station humans had ever built. The ship moved slowly toward the moon, where Earth's main defense base was located. Commander Hyun-woo stood in the control room of Luna Base, watching the alien vessel approach. He had been waiting for this day for months. Earth's long-range sensors had detected the ship weeks ago, moving toward their system. Now it was here. "Sir, they're sending a message," said Lieutenant Yuna from her station. "Put it through," Hyun-woo replied. A deep voice filled the room, speaking perfect English. "This is Admiral Velther of the Calvoran Empire. We demand to speak with your leaders immediately." Hyun-woo pressed the communication button. "This is Commander Hyun-woo of the Earth Defense Coalition. You are entering human space without permission. State your business." There was a pause, then what sounded like laughter. "Human space? You amuse me, primitive one. We will dock at your station. Prepare a meeting room." The alien ship moved closer to Luna Base. It was so large that it blocked out the stars behind it. Hyun-woo had never seen anything like it. The ship's hull was black metal covered in strange symbols that glowed with purple light. 2 hours later, Han-woo stood in the main conference room with Captain So-jin, Earth's best diplomat. She was calm and ready, but Hyun-woo could see the worry in her eyes. They both knew this meeting would change everything. The doors opened and Admiral Velther entered. He was tall, maybe 8 feet, with gray skin and 4 arms. His eyes were black, and when he looked at the humans, his expression showed nothing but contempt. Behind him came 2 guards carrying weapons that hummed with energy. They took positions by the door while Velther sat down at the table. The chair creaked under his weight. "I am Admiral Velther, voice of Empress Kalthus, ruler of the Calvoran Empire," he said. His voice was cold and formal. "I bring greetings from the Empire that rules 3 galaxies and 10,000 species." So-jin remained calm. "Welcome to our system, Admiral." "I am Captain So-jin. We represent the people of Earth and the human colonies." Velther waved one of his hands dismissively. Yes. Your species calls itself human. We know about you. You have spread to a few nearby star systems. Very impressive for such a young race." He pulled out a device that projected a hologram above the table. It showed a map of the galaxy with thousands of systems marked in red. "These are all Imperial worlds," Velther explained. "Every system marked in red belongs to the Calvoran Empire. Every species in these systems serves the Empire faithfully." So-jin studied the map. Almost the entire galaxy was red. Only a tiny blue dot showed where Earth was located. "Your system is here," Velther pointed to the blue dot. "As you can see, you are surrounded by Imperial space. This makes your situation very simple." Hyun-woo felt his hands clench into fists, but he stayed quiet. So-jin was the diplomat here. "What exactly are you proposing, Admiral?" So-jin asked. Velther smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Proposing? I am not proposing anything human. I am giving you the same offer we give all new species. Submit to Imperial rule." He touched his device and new images appeared. They showed massive factories, mining operations, and what looked like slave camps. "The terms are simple," Velther continued. 40% of your population will be relocated to work in Imperial facilities. Your military will be disbanded and all weapons surrendered to Imperial forces. A Calvoran governor will be installed to rule your worlds. In return, the remaining 60% of your people will be allowed to live in peace under Imperial protection. The room fell silent. Hyun-woo could hear his own heartbeat. So-jin's face remained calm, but her hands were steady on the table. "And if we refuse?" she asked quietly. Velther's smile grew wider. "Refuse? No species has ever been foolish enough to refuse the Empire's generous offer. But if you did..." He touched his device again. The hologram showed a planet being destroyed. Massive ships fired beams of energy that cracked the world's surface. Within minutes, the entire planet exploded into debris. This was the homeworld of the Thylaurians, Velther said casually. They thought they could resist the Empire. As you can see, they were wrong. Sojin looked at the images without flinching. When they ended, she stood up slowly. Admiral Velthor, I need to discuss this with my government. How much time do we have to consider your offer? 1 standard galactic year, Velthor replied. That is 1.3 of your Earth years. More than generous for such a simple decision, Sojin nodded. Then I have our answer now. Velthor looked surprised. Now? But you haven't consulted with your leaders. I don't need to, Sojin said. Her voice was steady and clear. On behalf of the people of Earth and all human colonies, we decline your offer. The alien admiral stared at her. His guards shifted nervously. For a moment no one spoke. You decline? Velthor said slowly. That's correct, Sojin continued. Furthermore, we declare the Sol system and all space within 50 light-years of Earth to be sovereign human territory. Any Imperial vessel entering this zone without permission will be considered an act of war. Velthor stood up so quickly that his chair fell over. His forearms moved in what looked like anger. You cannot be serious, he said. Your species has barely learned to travel between stars. The Empire has conquered civilizations 1,000 times more advanced than yours. Hyun-woo stepped forward. The lady gave you our answer, Admiral. I suggest you respect it. Velthor looked. Between the two humans, his black eyes wide with disbelief. Then he began to laugh. It was a horrible sound that echoed off the walls. You draw a line in space and think it will protect you, he said between laughs. You have no idea what you've just done. We know exactly what we've done, Sojin replied. We've told you that humans will not be slaves. The laughter stopped. Velthor's expression turned cold again. Very well, he said. You have 1 galactic year to reconsider. When that time ends, the Empire will return. You will submit then, or you will share the fate of the Philorians. He gestured to his guards and they moved toward the door. Before leaving, Velthor turned back to face the humans. No species has ever survived defying the Empire, he said. You will not be the first. The door closed behind them. Through the window, Hyun-woo and Sojin watched the massive alien ship pull away from Luna Base. Soon it was gone, jumping to faster than light speed and disappearing among the stars. Well, Hyun-woo said quietly, that went about as expected. Sojin was still looking out the window. Get me a connection to Earth Command. We have a lot of work to do. You really think we can stand against an empire that big? Hyun-woo asked Jin. Turned to face him. Her eyes were determined and unafraid. Commander, they made one very big mistake today. What's that? They told us we had a year to prepare. Dr. Minho had not slept properly in 3 months. His laboratory on Mars was working around the clock, and the coffee machine had broken down twice from overuse. But the work was too important to stop. Show me the quantum test results again, he said to his assistant. Dr. HAE-1. The holographic display showed a small asteroid floating in space. Then it simply disappeared. Not destroyed, not blown apart, it just stopped existing. The quantum entanglement weapon works perfectly, Hae-1 reported. We can erase matter from space-time itself. The target doesn't just die, it never was. Minho rubbed his tired eyes. And the power requirements? Still massive. We can only fire it once every 30 minutes from our largest ships. But sir, one shot can eliminate anything up to the size of a battleship. Across the solar system, General Tae-hyun was having a very different kind of meeting. He sat in a secret bunker on Europa, talking to holographic images of alien beings. These were not enemies. They were friends. The supply drop to your system was successful, he told a reptilian creature named Senth. Our weapons are now in the hands of your resistance fighters. Senth nodded gratefully. The humans keep their promises. Our people are ready to strike when you give the signal. Another alien, this one looking like a large insect, spoke up. The Imperial forces on our world suspect nothing. When your war begins, we will cut their supply lines. Tae-hyun looked at all the faces on his screen. 12 different species. All secretly working with humanity. All waiting for their chance at freedom. Remember, he said, wait for our signal. We need the Empire focused on Earth before you reveal yourselves. The meeting ended and Taehyun leaned back in his chair. Humans had been making contact with these resistance groups for years, ever since they first learned about the Empire. Trading weapons and technology for information and promises of future cooperation. On the moon, Engineer Ri was overseeing the biggest construction project in human history. Thousands of workers and robots were building weapons, platforms in space around the 50 light-year perimeter that Sojin had declared. How many platforms are operational? She asked her foreman Jinwoo. 2,000 and counting, he replied, wiping sweat from his face. Each one armed with quantum weapons, particle beams, and nano-swarm launchers. Yuri looked at the display showing their progress. The line, as everyone called it, was taking shape. A perfect sphere of defensive platforms surrounding human space. The artificial intelligence systems are the key, she explained to her team. Each platform has an AI brain programmed with one simple rule: nothing crosses the line without human permission. What about the invisible ships? Asked Engineer Daesung. The Ghost Protocol is separate, Yuri replied. Dr. Minho's team handles that technology. Back on Mars, Minho was indeed working on the Ghost Protocol. It was humanity's most secret project. Explain it to me one more time, said Admiral Sung-ho, who had come to check on their progress. Minho activated a demonstration, a model spaceship. Appeared on the table, then vanished completely. We bend light and all forms of energy around our ships, Minho explained. The ship is still there, but nothing can detect it. No sensors, no eyes, nothing. How long can a ship stay invisible? As long as needed. The system uses quantum field manipulation. It's completely silent and uses very little power. Admiral Sung-ho smiled. The Empire won't know what hit them. On Earth, Captain Sojin was meeting with President Insu and the World Council. They were discussing something that could change the entire war. Are you certain about this intelligence? President Insu asked. Sojin nodded. Our spy satellites have confirmed it. The Kelvorn Empire rules through fear, but their actual military strength is spread very thin across 3 galaxies. Most of their conquered worlds are controlled by small garrison forces, which means if we can inspire widespread rebellion, they won't have enough ships to stop it everywhere at once. Defense Minister Wu Jin leaned forward. That's a very big if, Captain. These species have been enslaved for thousands of years. What makes? You think they'll fight now? Because they've never seen anyone successfully resist the Empire before, Sojin replied. When we prove it can be done, they'll find their courage. Meanwhile, Commander Bio-Ram was training the new human fleet. Earth had been building ships in secret for years, hiding them in asteroid fields and behind moons. Remember, she told her. Squadron leaders, we're not just fighting for Earth, we're fighting to prove that freedom is possible. Her pilots nodded. They were young, but they were ready. Many had volunteered knowing they might not survive the coming war. The Empire expects U.S. to fight like other species they've conquered, Bio-Ram continued. Desperate, defensive, afraid. Instead, we're going to show them what humans do when someone threatens our home. 6 months before the deadline, Dr. Minho made a breakthrough that changed everything. We can extend the quantum field, he told. The emergency meeting of Earth's leaders. Not just around ships, but around entire areas of space. What does that mean? Asked President Insu. It means we can make the line itself invisible. The Empire won't be able to see our defensive platforms until they're already under attack. General Taehyun smiled grimly. They'll fly right into our trap. As the months passed, more alien resistance groups contacted Earth. Species that had given up hope were starting to believe again. Secret supply runs brought human weapons to dozens of worlds. Engineer Yuri completed the line with 2 months to spare. 50,000 defensive platforms now surrounded human space, all invisible, all waiting. Dr. Sunwoo, Earth's communication specialist, had built a network that could reach every conquered world in the galaxy. When the time came, they could coordinate the rebellion from Earth. The virus is ready. he reported to the Council. One signal from us, and it will spread through the entire Imperial communication network. Every enslaved world will get our message simultaneously. With 1 month left before the deadline, Admiral Sung Ho gathered all of Earth's military leaders for a final briefing. The Empire thinks we're a primitive species that got lucky once, he said. They're about to learn how wrong they are. Captain Sojin stood up. We've drawn our line in space. Now we have to be ready to defend it with everything we have. The room was quiet for a moment. Everyone knew that in 30 days, the most powerful empire in the galaxy would try to cross that line. Any regrets? Asked General Tae-Hyun Sojin. Looked around the room at the faces of her friends and colleagues, good people who were willing to risk everything for freedom. Only one, she said. That we can't give the Empire a bigger surprise than we already have planned. There was laughter around the table, but it was nervous laughter. In 1 month, they would find out if humanity's courage was greater than the Empire's power. The countdown to war had begun. Admiral Zethkar stood on the bridge of his massive flagship, the Imperial Fist. Around him, 500 Kelvorn warships moved through space in perfect formation. Each ship was a kilometer long and bristled with weapons that could destroy cities. How much longer until we reach the human perimeter? He asked his navigation officer. 6 hours, sir. We should arrive exactly 1 galactic year after Admiral Velther's visit. Zethkar smiled. He had conquered 17 species in his career. The humans would be number 18 and probably the easiest. Their primitive technology was no match for Imperial might. Have the humans sent any messages? He asked. No, sir. Long-range sensors show no activity in their space. They appear to be hiding. Cowards, Zethkar said with disgust. Prepare the planet-killer weapons. If they surrender immediately, we might let half of them live. On Earth, Captain Day 1 stood in the command center of humanity's new flagship, the Defiance. The ship was smaller than the Imperial vessels, but it was equipped with technology the Empire had never seen. Imperial fleet detected, reported Lieutenant Thean from her sensor station. 500 ships approaching the perimeter at standard speed. Day 1 nodded calmly. Signal all defensive platforms. Go to silent running mode. Full Ghost Protocol activation in 10 minutes. Around the 50 light-year perimeter, thousands of invisible weapon platforms powered up their systems. The artificial intelligence controlling each platform ran through its targeting programs. The Empire was about to learn that crossing humanity's line had consequences. Dr. Minho watched from his laboratory on Mars as his quantum weapons came online. Each platform carried enough firepower to erase a battleship from existence. But the Empire didn't know the platforms were there. Quantum field generators at full power, reported his assistant. All weapons showing green status. Remember, Minho said to his team, we only get 1 chance to surprise them. Make every shot count. Admiral Zethkar's fleet reached the invisible line that humanity had drawn around their space. The Imperial sensors detected nothing, no ships, no weapons, no defenses of any kind. Scan complete, Admiral, reported his sensor officer. The perimeter is empty, no human presence detected. Perfect, Zethkar said. They're cowering around their home planet. Order all ships to cross into human space. Set course for Earth. The massive Imperial fleet moved forward, crossing the line that Captain Sojin had declared 1 year ago. 500 warships entered human space. Their weapons charged and ready for an easy victory, they made it exactly 50,000 kilometers past. The perimeter. The first quantum weapon fired from a platform that materialized out of nowhere. The beam struck the Liad Imperial destroyer, and the ship simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, the next moment there was only empty space. What happened to the Crusher? Zethkar demanded. Before anyone could answer, 1,000 more. Weapons platforms became visible, surrounding the Imperial fleet. Particle beams, quantum erasers, and nanoswarm launchers opened fire simultaneously. The Imperial ships tried to return fire, but they couldn't target enemies that kept appearing and disappearing. More ships vanished as quantum weapons found. their targets. Others had their hulls eaten away by mechanical swarms so small they couldn't be seen. "Emergency jump to hyperspace," Zethkar ordered. "We can't, sir. Something is jamming our faster-than-light drives." That was Engineer Yuri's contribution to the defense. Every platform carried hyperspace disruptors. Nothing could escape once. It crossed the line. The battle lasted 6 hours. Admiral Zethkar watched in horror as his fleet was systematically destroyed around him. Ships that had conquered star systems were being erased by weapons they couldn't even see coming. "Send a distress signal to the Empire," he screamed. "Sir, our communication array has been destroyed." "Then send a message drone." "The drones are being intercepted by those mechanical swarms." Zethkar realized with growing terror that the humans had planned this perfectly. No ship would escape to warn the Empire. No message would get through. The fleet would simply disappear, his own ship? Shuddered as nanoswarms began eating through the hull. Emergency alarms blared throughout the Imperial Fist. "Hull breach on decks 12 through 20. Weapon systems offline. Life support failing." Zethkar had time for one last thought before a quantum beam erased his ship from existence. The humans had been ready for this. Captain Day 1 watched the last Imperial ship vanish from his screens. Around the perimeter, the weapon platforms were powering down and returning to invisible mode. "Battle report," he requested. Lieutenant Diyun checked her console. 500 enemy vessels destroyed. 0 Imperial survivors detected. "Our casualties?" "None." The bridge crew was silent for a moment. They had just witnessed the complete destruction of an Imperial fleet, and not a single human had been hurt. "Signal Earth Command," Day 1 ordered. "The line holds." On the Imperial capital world of Kelver Prime, Empress Kalthus was reviewing reports in her throne room when Admiral Malkuth rushed in with urgent news. "Your Majesty, we've lost contact with Admiral Zethkar's fleet." The Empress looked up from her datapad. "Lost contact? What do you mean?" "The Third Fleet was supposed to report after conquering the human homeworld. That was 12 hours ago. We've heard nothing." "Send another fleet to investigate?" "Yes, Your Majesty." "But there's something else. We're receiving reports of equipment failures on 17 conquered worlds. Weapons malfunctioning, communication arrays going down, transportation systems failing." Empress Kalthus frowned. Equipment failures on multiple worlds at the same time was not a coincidence. "Double the garrison forces on those worlds," she ordered, "and find out what happened to Zethkar." Back in human space, General Tehayon was coordinating with the resistance groups he had been arming for months. "The signal has been sent," he told them over secure channels. "Imperial Fleet 3 has been destroyed. Begin your operations." Across the galaxy, weapons that had been hidden for months were brought out of storage. Bombs that had been placed in Imperial facilities were activated. Communication networks that the Empire thought were secure were hijacked by human-made viruses on the former Thylorian homeworld, now an Imperial mining colony. The resistance leader Senth led his people in an attack on the governor's palace. They were armed with human quantum rifles and human-made explosives. "For our children," Senth shouted as his fighters stormed the Imperial compound. Similar scenes played out on dozens of worlds. Species that had been enslaved for centuries suddenly remembered what freedom felt like. Captain Day 1 prepared to broadcast a message on all Imperial communication frequencies. Dr. Sunwu had given him access to the entire enemy network. "This is Captain Day 1 of the Earthship Defiance," he said into the microphone. "To all Imperial forces listening to this message, you were warned. The line exists. We suggest you remember it." The message was heard on every Imperial world, in every Imperial ship, by every Imperial commander. For the first time in the Empire's history, someone had not just survived their attack. Someone had won on Earth. President Insu addressed the world's population. "Today, humanity proved that freedom is stronger than fear," he said. "We drew a line in space and defended it. But this is only the beginning. The Empire will send more ships, and we'll be ready for them too." In his laboratory, Dr. Minho was already working on improvements to their weapons. "They'll adapt to our tactics," he told his team. We need to stay ahead of them. Engineer Yuri was expanding the defensive network. We need more platforms, covering more space. The line needs to grow. But for tonight, humanity celebrated. They had faced the most powerful empire in the galaxy and won. 500 Imperial warships had crossed their line, and 500 Imperial warships had been destroyed. The Empire now knew that humanity was not like other species they had conquered. Humans did not surrender easily, and they did not fight fair. The war for Galactic freedom had begun. Supreme Admiral Nixol slammed his fist on the war table so hard that the holographic display flickered. Around him, the highest-ranking officers of the Kelvorn Empire stood in shocked silence. "Gone?" he roared. "An entire fleet simply gone?" "Yes, sir," replied Intelligence Director Kevmara. "No survivors, no distress signals, no debris. Fleet 3 crossed into human space and vanished completely. That's impossible. Zethkar commanded 500 of our best ships." "Sir, there's more," another officer said nervously. "Rebellion has broken out on 17 worlds. The humans somehow coordinated simultaneous attacks across 3 sectors." Nixdol's face turned darker. In 3,000 years, the Empire had never lost an entire fleet. Never had multiple worlds rebelled at the same time. The humans were doing something that should have been impossible. "Mobilize fleets 7 and 12, he ordered. 1,200 ships should be more than enough to crush these primitives. "Sir, shouldn't we investigate what happened to Fleet 3 first?" "No, we show strength, not fear." "Send both fleets to human space immediately, and equip them with planet-killer weapons. If the humans want to resist, we'll erase their entire solar system." On Earth, Commander Jihai had been promoted to head of the expanded Earth Defense Force. She stood in the new command center built inside a mountain, watching as the Empire's response approached their territory. 2 fleets this time, reported Major Sumin, 1,200 ships total. "They're bigger than the last ones." I nodded. She had expected this escalation. "Any planet-killer weapons detected?" "Yes, ma'am. Long-range scans show at least 50 ships carrying Star Destroyer torpedoes. They mean to end this quickly," Jihai said. "Time to show them our newest trick." She activated the communication system that connected to every human ship and defense platform. "All units, this is Commander Jihai. The Empire is sending a larger force. They think numbers will save them. They're about to learn that humans fight smarter, not harder. Ghost Protocol Alpha is now in effect." Throughout human space, something unprecedented happened. The entire human fleet simply vanished from all sensors. Not just the ships, but the massive defense platforms, the space stations, even the orbital factories around Earth. Everything disappeared. Dr. Minho had perfected the invisibility technology beyond anyone's expectations. Now they could hide entire fleets and all their infrastructure simultaneously. Admiral Kothsar commanded the combined 7th and 12th fleets as they approached the human perimeter. He was confident that the primitives had simply gotten lucky against Fleet 3. "Sensor report," he demanded. "Sir, we're detecting ... nothing. No ships, no defenses, no activity of any kind. What about their planets?" "The planets are there, but no orbital installations, no space traffic. It's like they've abandoned their entire system," Kothsar frowned. This didn't make sense. Intelligence reports showed the humans had been building defenses for a year. "Proceed to the 50 light-year perimeter," he ordered. "Advance in battle formation." The 1,200 Imperial ships crossed the invisible line that humanity had drawn. This time, they came ready for a fight, with shields up and weapons charged. For 30 minutes, nothing happened. The Imperial fleet moved deeper into human space, scanning constantly but finding nothing. "Sir," reported the sensor officer, "we're detecting energy readings from everywhere." "What do you mean, everywhere?" Before the officer could answer, space around the Imperial fleet exploded into action. Hundreds of human ships materialized from nowhere, firing quantum weapons and particle beams. The defensive platforms reappeared. their AI systems targeting Imperial vessels with deadly precision, but this time was different. The human ships didn't stay visible. They would decloak, fire, then vanish again before the Imperial ships could return fire effectively, Commander. HFY coordinated the battle from her invisible flagship. Strike teams Alpha through Delta focus on their command ships. Echo and Foxtrot teams target their planet killers. The human pilots executed their orders with precision that amazed even their enemies. They appeared behind Imperial ships, destroyed them, and disappeared before reinforcements could arrive. Captain Hyojin led Squadron 7 in an attack on the Imperial flagship. Her ships decloaked just long enough to fire quantum torpedoes that erased 3 escort vessels, then vanished back into invisibility. "Where are they?" Admiral Kothzer screamed at his sensor officer. "Sir, they're everywhere and nowhere. Our sensors can't track them when they're cloaked." "Then fire randomly. Saturate the area with weapons fire." The Imperial ships began firing in all directions, hoping to hit human vessels by accident. It was a desperate move that wasted ammunition and accomplished nothing. Meanwhile, Dr. Sunwoo was monitoring the battle from Earth while simultaneously coordinating the Galactic Rebellion. His virus had spread through the Imperial communication network, and now he could speak directly to resistance fighters across the galaxy. "Human fleet is engaging Imperial reinforcements," he broadcast to the rebel cells. "This is your moment. Strike now while they're distracted." On 19 different worlds, enslaved species rose up against their oppressors. The Thylorians recaptured their capital city. The aquatic Moldharans seized control of 3 star systems. Crystal-based Nexari began sabotaging Imperial mining operations throughout their sector. The Empire suddenly found itself fighting a war on dozens of fronts, simultaneously. Back in human space, the battle had been raging for 6 hours. The Imperial fleet was taking heavy casualties while barely landing any hits on the invisible human ships. "Sir, we've lost 400 ships, reported Admiral Kothzer, tactical officer. "How many human ships have we destroyed?" 37. "Sir," Kothzer stared at his display in disbelief. His massive fleet was being systematically destroyed by an enemy he couldn't even see consistently. "All ships, prepare for emergency hyperspace jump." "Sir, our faster-than-light drives are being jammed." "By what?" "Unknown, sir. Something is preventing us from leaving this area." Engineer Yuri had expanded her hyperspace disruptors throughout the entire battle zone. No Imperial ship would escape to report what was happening. Pilot Hyojin led the elite line breaker squadron in the war's most daring mission. Her 12 ships approached the Imperial command vessel while completely invisible. "Remember," she told her pilots, "we're not trying to destroy the flagship. We're planting something much more valuable." The squadron flew through the Imperial ship's hangar bay while cloaked. The Empire's sensors couldn't detect them, so the defensive systems never activated. Once inside, Hyojin's team planted a special device that Dr. Sunwoo had designed. It looked like a small metal box, but it contained technology that would change. "The war package delivered," Hyojin reported as her squadron escaped the enemy ship. "Excellent," replied Dr. Sunwoo from Earth. "Activating transmission in 3. The device inside the Imperial flagship began broadcasting, but it wasn't sending information to the humans. It was sending a message to every enslaved world in the galaxy through the Empire's own communication network. The message was simple, but powerful. The line holds. Rise up. Along with the words, the broadcast included video of the battle currently raging in human space. Every conquered species in the galaxy could see the impossible: human ships defeating a massive Imperial fleet. The effect was immediate. On 47 worlds, species that had been enslaved for millennia suddenly saw hope. Rebellions erupted across 3 sectors as the Empire's subjects realized that resistance was possible. Admiral Kothzar's fleet was down to 300 ships. When Commander HFY decided to reveal her final surprise: "All human vessels, decloak simultaneously. Show them our full strength." Across the battlefield, over 800 human ships became visible at once. The Imperial survivors found themselves completely surrounded by enemies they had never seen coming. "Surrender now," Jihai broadcast to the Imperial fleet, "and you'll be allowed to leave human space unharmed." Admiral Kosso looked at his tactical display. 300 Imperial ships against 800 human vessels, with no way to escape and no hope of victory. For the first time in Imperial history, a fleet commander surrendered to a primitive species. We yield," Kosso transmitted. Commander Jihai allowed the surviving Imperial ships to leave human space, but only after removing their weapons and long-range communication equipment. They would return to the Empire with news of their defeat, but they would arrive without the ability to immediately launch another attack. As the broken Imperial fleet limped away from human space, Jihai received reports from across the galaxy. 63 worlds were now in open rebellion. The Empire was losing control of entire sectors. "Sir," reported Major Seung-min, "we're receiving a priority transmission from the Imperial capital. Put it through." A new voice filled the command center, speaking with authority that demanded attention. "This is Supreme Admiral Nixthal of the Kelvoran Empire. We demand to speak with whoever leads your military forces." Smiled. "This is Commander Jihai, currently in command of human space defense. What can I do for you, Admiral?" There was a long pause before the alien voice replied. "You have made a grave mistake, human. The Empire's patience is not unlimited." "Neither is ours," Jihai replied calmly. "You've now sent 2 fleets against us." Empress Kalthus had ruled the Kelvoran Empire for 200 years. In all that time, she had never personally led a military campaign. The Empire's vast fleets had always been sufficient to crush any resistance, but the humans had changed everything. "Your Majesty," Admiral Malkuth said carefully, "perhaps we should reconsider this direct approach. The humans have proven unexpectedly capable." The Empress turned from the massive viewport of her flagship, the Eternal Dominion. Outside, 5,000 Imperial warships stretched as far as the eye could see. It was the largest fleet ever assembled, a quarter of the Empire's entire navy. "2 fleets destroyed," she said coldly. 63 worlds in rebellion. "The Empire is beginning to look weak, Admiral. That cannot be allowed." "Yes, Your Majesty. But we still don't understand how the humans are achieving these victories." "Then we'll learn by watching them die." The Empress had brought weapons that had never been used in warfare before. Planet crackers that could split worlds in half, star killers that could make suns go supernova, and a new weapon called the reality bomb that could erase entire solar systems from existence. "How long until we reach human space?" she asked. 6 hours, Your Majesty." On Earth, Admiral Seung-ho stood in the deepest command bunker ever built. Around him, holographic displays showed the approaching Imperial Armada. It was larger than anything humanity had ever faced. "Ma'am," reported Captain Daesung, long-range sensors confirm 5,000 enemy vessels. "They're carrying enough firepower to destroy our entire solar system." Seung-ho remained calm. Humanity had spent the months since their last victory doing more than just celebrating. "Signal Admiral Jihai. It's time to reveal our secret." In the outer regions of the solar system, beyond the orbit of Pluto, something waited in the darkness. Admiral Jihai commanded not just the defensive fleet, but an entirely new force that the Empire knew nothing about. "All ships begin phase 1, she ordered. Throughout the solar system, what looked like asteroids and space debris suddenly came to life. Hundreds of human ships that had been disguised as rocks and metal. Scraps activated their engines and weapons, but this was only the beginning. "Activate the outer perimeter," Jihai continued. The line that humanity had drawn around their territory suddenly expanded. The 50-light-year radius doubled, then tripled. New defensive platforms came online throughout a sphere of space that now covered 150 light-years in diameter. Engineer Yuri had been busy during the months of peace. The defensive network now covered dozens of star systems, all protected by invisible weapons platforms and hyperspace jammers. Empress Kalthus watched her sensor readings with growing confusion. What do you mean the perimeter has moved? She demanded, Your Majesty, human defensive positions are now detected throughout a much larger area. They've expanded their territory. That's impossible. It takes years to build that kind of infrastructure. Yes, Your Majesty. Which means they've been planning this for much longer than we realized. The Empress's expression grew darker. The humans had been preparing for war long before her first fleet ever reached their space. No matter, 5,000 ships can overwhelm any defense. All vessels advance to attack formation. The massive Imperial Armada approached the new human perimeter. This time, they came prepared for invisible enemies. Special sensor arrays designed to detect cloaked ships. Weapons that could fire in all directions simultaneously. Shields that could absorb quantum weapon attacks. They crossed the line in perfect formation, expecting to face the human defensive platforms. Instead, they found empty space. Sensor report, demanded Admiral Malkith. Sir, we're detecting no human presence within the perimeter. No ships, no platforms, nothing. They're cloaked. Begin random firing patterns. The Imperial ships open fire in all directions, filling space with energy beams and explosive projectiles. But their shots hit nothing. Where are they? Empress Kalthus asked. That's when Admiral Suho sprang his trap. The human fleet wasn't hiding inside the perimeter. They were outside it. Behind the Imperial Armada, 800 human ships decloaked and began their attack. But these weren't the same ships the Empire had fought before. These were larger, more heavily armed, and equipped with new weapons that Dr. Minho had been developing in secret. All ships, commence Operation Reversal. Admiral Suho broadcast. The human ships didn't just attack the Imperial fleet, they herded it. Using coordinated strikes and strategic positioning, they drove the enemy ships toward the center of the perimeter. That's when the defensive platforms revealed themselves. Thousands of weapons platforms materialized around the Imperial fleet, but not where the Empire expected them. The platforms were arranged in layers, with the Imperial ships trapped in the middle like insects in a web. We're surrounded, Admiral Malkith reported. Impossible, the Empress replied. Our intelligence said they only had defensive positions. At the perimeter, Your Majesty, they have platforms everywhere. Above us, below us, all around us. We're in a three-dimensional trap. Pilot Hyjin led her expanded squadron in the most dangerous mission of the war, while the main battle raged. Around the Imperial fleet, her ships had a different target, the Empress's flagship itself. Remember, she told her pilots, we're not trying to destroy the ship, we're delivering a present. Her squadron approached the Eternal Dominion while completely invisible. The massive flagship was protected by dozens of escort vessels, but none of them could detect the approaching human ships. Target the communication array, Hyjin ordered. We need to plant our device in their main transmission center. The squadron split into 3 groups, each approaching the flagship from a different angle. Using microcharges, they blasted small holes in the ship's hull and flew inside. The device they carried was Dr. Sun Wu's masterpiece, a virus that would do more than just send messages. This one would take control of the Imperial communication network entirely. Package delivered, reported Lieutenant Tae-1 as the device was planted in the flagship's communication center. Excellent. All squadrons, clear the area. Dr. Sun Wu, you're clear to activate. On Earth, Dr. Sun Wu initiated the most ambitious hack in galactic history. Through the device planted on the Empress's flagship, he gained access to the Imperial communication network and began broadcasting to every enslaved world simultaneously. But this time, he wasn't just sending messages. He was sending technical specifications. All resistance cells, you now have the plans for quantum weapons, cloaking devices, and hyperspace jammers, he broadcast. Build them, use them. The Empire's own fleet is carrying the materials you need. Across the galaxy, species that had been fighting with primitive weapons suddenly received blueprints for technology that could match Imperial forces. The rebellion was about to become much more dangerous. In the battle around the human perimeter, Empress Kalthus was learning that her massive fleet was more of a liability than an advantage. Our ships are too close together, Admiral Malkuth reported. The humans are using that against us. Every shot that misses a human ship hits one of ours. Order the fleet to spread out? We can't, Your Majesty. The human platforms are jamming our movement. We're locked in formation. The Empress realized with growing horror that the humans had turned her own strategy against her. The massive fleet. That was supposed to overwhelm. Human defenses had become a target-rich environment where every human weapon found multiple targets. Casualties? She asked grimly. 2,000 ships destroyed or disabled. The humans have lost approximately 100 vessels. Commander Bioram coordinated the battle from her command ship, watching as human tactics proved superior to Imperial numbers. Quantum weapons are working perfectly, she reported to Admiral Sungho. Each shot is taking out multiple enemy ships due to their tight formation. Excellent. Begin Phase 2. Phase 2 was the most audacious part of the human plan. Instead of just defending their territory, they began expanding it during the battle. New defensive platforms came online throughout nearby star systems. The human perimeter didn't just hold, it grew, encompassing Imperial supply bases and communication relays. Your Majesty, Admiral Malkuth said urgently, the humans are taking control of the Altair system. That's one of our major supply hubs. How? Is that possible? They're not just fighting us here. They have another fleet attacking our rear positions. Admiral Sungho had indeed split his forces. While the main battle raged around the perimeter, smaller human fleets were striking deep into Imperial territory, establishing new lines around. Strategic Systems, General Wu Jin, commanding the expansion forces, reported his progress to Earth. 17 Imperial supply bases captured or destroyed. We're establishing defensive perimeters around each conquered system. The Empire is losing its logistical network. The battle lasted 18 hours. When it ended, the Imperial fleet had been reduced to fewer than 1,500 ships. Empress Kalthus found herself surrounded by human vessels, her escape routes blocked by defensive platforms. For the first time in Imperial history, an Empress was forced to surrender. This is Empress Kalthus, she transmitted to the human fleet. We request terms for withdrawal. Admiral Sungho's response was broadcast throughout the galaxy. Your Majesty, you crossed our line with the largest fleet in Imperial history. You brought weapons designed to destroy. The virus that Dr. Sunwed planted in the Imperial communication network spread faster than anyone had expected. Within 72 hours, every enslaved world in 3 galaxies received the same message: detailed plans for building quantum weapons, cloaking devices, and hyperspace jammers on the crystal world of Nexus Prime. The native Nexari had been forced to mine rare elements for the Empire for 800 years. When the human technology arrived, their leader Vethklon gathered the resistance in secret. The humans have given us the tools, he said, his crystalline body glowing with excitement. Now we can fight back with weapons as powerful as theirs. The Nexari had one advantage the Empire had never expected. Their crystal-based technology could amplify quantum effects. When they built the human weapons, they were twice as powerful as the original designs. On the ocean world of Aquatria, the Moldharans had been enslaved for over 1,000 years. Their leader, flow singer Nalthi, addressed her people from the depths of their underwater cities. The surface dwellers who call themselves human have shown us that resistance is possible, she sang in the harmonic language of her species. Today we reclaim our oceans, tomorrow we reclaim our stars. The Moldharans used their mastery of fluid dynamics to create cloaking devices that were nearly undetectable. Their ships moved through space like water, flowing around enemy formations and striking where least expected. Commander Bioram coordinated with the rebellion from her command. Ship orbiting Earth, her communications console showed contacts from 127 different worlds, all requesting support and coordination. Status report from the Thylorian sector. She requested. Senth appeared on her screen, his reptilian features scarred from years of fighting. We have liberated our homeworld and 12 surrounding systems. Imperial garrison forces were no match. For quantum weapons? Excellent. What do you need? More ships. The Empire is sending reinforcements to retake our territory. Ram nodded. Human transport vessels are already en route with additional weapons and shield generators. Hold your positions. On Earth, General Wu Jin was implementing humanity's most ambitious plan yet, the systematic expansion of the line throughout the galaxy. Phase 1 is complete, he reported to the Earth Council. We now have defensive perimeters around 97 liberated worlds. Each system is protected by the same technology that guards Earth. President Insu studied the galactic map on his screen. 40% of the galaxy was now marked in blue, indicating free territory. How is the Empire responding? He asked. They're struggling to maintain control, General Wu Jin replied. Our intelligence suggests they're losing approximately 10 systems per day to rebellion. They simply don't have enough ships to fight everywhere at once. Dr. Dion worked around the clock in his laboratory, developing new technologies for the rebellion. His latest creation was a device that could turn Imperial weapons against their own users. The neural feedback disruptor is ready for field testing, he announced to his team. Any Imperial soldier who tries to fire a weapon equipped with this device will be knocked unconscious by their own neural interface. How do we get them onto Imperial weapons? Asked his assistant. The same way we've been delivering everything else, invisible insertion teams. Throughout the galaxy, human special forces worked with local resistance groups to infiltrate Imperial facilities. They planted Dr. Dichin's devices in weapons factories, turning the Empire's own production against them. The rebellion grew stronger each day, but the Empire was not helpless. Supreme Admiral Nixel gathered the remaining Imperial fleets for a desperate counterattack. We cannot fight on every front simultaneously, he told his commanders. We must concentrate our forces and crush the rebellion one sector at a time. Which sector do we target first? Asked Admiral Malkith. The Nexari systems. Their quantum-enhanced weapons are causing the most damage to our fleets. The Empire assembled 2,000 ships for an assault on the Crystal Worlds. It was a massive force, but it left many other systems. UNDEFENDED. Commander Bahram received the intelligence about the Imperial counterattack from her spy network. They're concentrating everything against the Nexari, she reported to Admiral Sung Ho. This is our chance. Begin Operation Cascade? Sung Ho ordered. Operation Cascade was humanity's plan to liberate multiple sectors simultaneously while the Empire was focused elsewhere. Human fleets that had been hidden throughout the galaxy revealed themselves and began coordinating attacks on lightly defended Imperial systems. Captain Minjin led the assault on the Kelmer sector, which contained 17 Imperial worlds. His fleet of 200 human ships supported by local resistance fighters overwhelmed the small garrison forces. Kelmer Prime has surrendered, he reported. We're establishing a defensive perimeter around the entire sector. Similar reports came in from across the galaxy. The Empire's strategy of concentration had backfired. While they fought desperately to hold one sector, they lost 5 others. The battle for the Nexari systems became the largest engagement since the Empire's attack on Earth. Vethklon led the Crystal Beings fleet against the Imperial Armada, their quantum-enhanced weapons creating spectacular displays of light as they tore through enemy ships. Human reinforcements arriving, reported his tactical officer. Admiral Ji Hai led 300 human ships to support the Nexari defense. But her fleet brought more than just additional firepower. They brought a new weapon that Dr. Minho had developed specifically for large fleet battles. Deploy the quantum cascade torpedoes, she ordered. The new weapons didn't just destroy individual ships. They created chain reactions that spread through entire enemy formations. One torpedo could disable dozens of Imperial vessels by linking their quantum signatures together. The Imperial fleet found itself facing an impossible situation. Every attack they made was turned against them. Every formation they tried was anticipated and countered. Supreme Admiral Nixthal watched his carefully planned offensive fall apart. Sir, we've lost 1,400 ships, his tactical officer reported. The Nexarian humans are coordinating their attacks perfectly. Impossible. How can primitives coordinate better than the Imperial Navy? What Nixthal didn't know was that Dr. Sunwoo had given every resistance cell access to quantum communication technology. Every fleet in the rebellion could coordinate instantly across galactic distances. All human and allied forces, this is. Admiral Sung-ho, came the broadcast from Earth. The Empire has committed most of their remaining forces to one battle. This is our moment to end their ability to make war. The signal was heard on every liberated world. In response, the largest coordinated attack in galactic history began, on 200 worlds simultaneously. Rebel forces struck at Imperial installations. Space docks were destroyed. Weapons factories were captured. Communication relays were sabotaged. Administrative centers were occupied. Engineer Yuri coordinated the technical aspects of the rebellion from Earth. All liberation forces, new defensive platforms are coming online throughout the galaxy, she announced. Every world you free will be protected by the same technology that guards Earth. The Empire's control began to collapse like a house of cards. Systems that had been loyal for centuries suddenly found themselves cut off from Imperial support and surrounded by rebel-controlled space. Flowsinger. Nalthi led the Moldharan fleet in an attack on the Imperial naval base at Hydro Station. Her fluid-dynamic ships flowed around the station's defenses like water around rocks. "The station is ours," she reported to Commander B.O. Ram. "We're capturing 12 Imperial dreadnoughts intact." "Excellent. Can your people operate Imperial ships?" "Better than the Imperials themselves. We understand the flow of energy through their systems." The captured Imperial ships were quickly modified. With human cloaking technology and quantum weapons, the rebellion was now using the Empire's own vessels against them. On Earth, President Insu addressed the planet's population and their allies across the galaxy. 6 months ago, we drew a line around our solar system, he said. Today, that line protects 300 star systems and 150 different species. We have proven that freedom is contagious. The galactic map in the background showed the dramatic change. 80% of the galaxy was now controlled by the Free Worlds Alliance. As the rebellion had begun calling itself, but in the imperial capital, Empress Kalthus was preparing one final desperate gambit. "Activate the Omega Protocol," she ordered her scientists. "Your Majesty, that weapon has never been tested. It could destroy entire sectors of space. Better a dead galaxy than a free one," the Empress replied coldly. Admiral Sung-ho received intelligence about the Omega Protocol from a sympathetic Imperial scientist who had been secretly working with the rebellion. "It's a weapon that can destabilize the quantum fabric of space itself," Dr. Minho explained after reviewing the stolen data. "If they succeed, they could create a chain reaction that destroys multiple star systems." "Where are they planning to use it?" "Earth. They want to eliminate the source of the rebellion." Sung-ho called an emergency meeting of the Alliance leadership. "The Empire is preparing to use a doomsday weapon against our homeworld," he announced. "We have perhaps days before they're ready to fire it." Vethklon's crystal form flickered. "With determination. Then we end this war before they get the Chancellor Singer Nalthi-S harmonics." The Omega Protocol facility was hidden deep beneath the surface of Kelver Prime, the Imperial capital world. For 2,000 years it had remained sealed, a weapon so terrible that even the Empire had never dared to use it. Dr. Zarmuth, the Empire's chief scientist, watched nervously as technicians prepared the ancient device. The weapon could destabilize the quantum foundation of reality itself, creating a chain reaction that would spread through hyperspace to destroy multiple star systems. "Your Majesty," he said to Empress Kalthus, "I must protest this course of action. The Omega Protocol could destroy not just the human system, but dozens of others, including our own loyal worlds." "Possibly, Your Majesty. The quantum cascade is unpredictable." The Empress's expression remained cold. "Better a galaxy of ashes than a galaxy of rebels. Proceed with the activation." Meanwhile, throughout the galaxy, the largest fleet ever assembled was converging on the Imperial capital. The Free Worlds Alliance had gathered ships from 150 different species, all united in their determination to end the Empire's reign of terror. Admiral Sung Ho stood on the bridge of the Alliance flagship Liberation, watching as the massive armada took shape around him. Nexari crystal ships that sparkled like jewels, Mulderon vessels that flowed like liquid metal, Thylorian warships rebuilt with human quantum technology. And at the center, Earth's own fleet, the ships that had started this galactic revolution. Fleet. Status report, he requested. Commander BO-RAM consulted her tactical display. 3,000 ships from 150 species, all equipped with quantum weapons and cloaking technology. The largest unified fleet in galactic history. And the Imperial defenses? Kelver Prime is protected by 800 ships and the most advanced planetary defense system ever built. But sir, there's something else. BO-RAM's expression grew serious. Our spies report that the Empire is preparing to use a weapon called the Omega Protocol. It can destroy entire star systems. Dr. The Jun, who had joined the fleet for the final battle, stepped forward with urgent news. Admiral, I've been analyzing the stolen technical data. The Omega Protocol doesn't just destroy star systems, it creates a quantum cascade that spreads through hyperspace. If they fire it at Earth, the reaction could destroy dozens of systems, including many of our allied worlds. Sun Ho felt the weight of command more heavily than ever before. The Empire was preparing to commit genocide on a scale never before imagined. How long until they can fire this weapon? According to our intelligence, 36 hours. Then we have 36 hours to stop them. All fleet commanders, prepare for immediate departure to Kelver Prime. On Earth, Dr. Minho was working frantically in his laboratory with a team of scientists from multiple species. If the Alliance couldn't stop the Omega Protocol in time, they needed a defense against it. The quantum cascade works by linking the fundamental structure of space itself, he explained to his team. But if we can reverse the polarity of the quantum field, Dr. Nexus, a crystalline Nexari scientist, interrupted with excitement. We can reflect the cascade back to its source? The weapon would destroy the Empire instead of the Alliance. Exactly. But the power requirements are enormous. We'd need to channel the energy output of our entire star. The Moldharons have experience with stellar engineering, added Dr. Aquos, whose fluid form rippled with concentration. We can help modify your sun to generate the necessary quantum field. It was a desperate plan, turn Earth's own star into a weapon, but it might be their only chance if the fleet failed to stop the Omega Protocol. The Alliance Armada emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Kelver system like an avenging angel. 3,000 ships spread across space in perfect formation. Their weapons charged and their crews ready for the final battle. The Imperial fleet moved to intercept them, but they were vastly outnumbered. 800 ships against 3,000 was hopeless. Odds, even with the advantages of defending their home system. All Alliance forces, this is Admiral Sung Ho, he broadcast to the massive fleet. Today we end the Empire's ability to threaten any free world. Today we prove that united, no tyranny can stand against us. The battle began with a spectacular display of quantum weapons fire. The Alliance ships had learned to coordinate their attacks perfectly, focusing their firepower to overwhelm Imperial shields, but the real objective wasn't destroying the Imperial fleet. It was reaching the planet's surface before the Omega Protocol could be activated. Landing teams Alpha through Zeta, prepare for planetary assault. Ordered General Wu-Jin. Captain Hai-Jin led a combined force of human, Nexari and Thylorian troops toward the planet's surface. Their mission was to locate and destroy the Omega Protocol facility before it could fire. The planetary defenses were fierce. Energy beams lanced up from the surface, trying to stop the landing ships. But the Alliance forces had learned to use their cloaking technology effectively. Half the landing craft were invisible to Imperial sensors. Primary target located, reported Hai-Jin as her scanners detected massive energy readings from beneath the Imperial Palace. The weapon is directly under the Empress's throne room. On the surface, Imperial troops fought desperately to protect their capital, but they were facing enemies they had never encountered before, species that had been enslaved for centuries and were now free, fighting with weapons as advanced as their own. Senth led his Thylorian warriors in an assault on the palace guards. "For our children who died in your slave camps," he roared as his quantum rifle cut through Imperial armor. Flowsinger. Nalthias Multaran forces moved like water through the palace corridors, flowing around defenses and striking where the enemy was weakest. Vethklon S. Nexari used their crystal technology to amplify the quantum weapons beyond their normal power, creating explosions that shattered Imperial fortifications, but time was running out. Deep beneath the palace, Dr. Zarmuth was completing the final preparations for the Omega Protocol. "Quantum Cascade Chamber charged to 90%, reported his assistant. "Target confirmed as the Sol System?" "Yes, sir." "The weapon will fire directly through hyperspace at the human homeworld." Empress Kalthus watched the battle raging above her palace from her underground command center. Her empire was dying, but she would ensure that the rebels died with it. "Fire when ready," she ordered. Captain Hyjin's assault team reached the Omega Protocol chamber just as the weapon was preparing to fire. The massive device filled a cavern the size of a city, crackling with energy that could destroy star systems. "Charges set," reported her demolitions expert. "But sir, we don't have enough explosives to destroy something this large." Hyjin looked at the weapon and realized what she had to do. "All teams, evacuate the facility immediately." "I'm going to overload the quantum core." "Sir, that's suicide." "Maybe, but it's the only way to stop this thing from firing." As her team reluctantly retreated, Hyjin approached the weapons control panel. Dr. Vijun had given her emergency codes that could reverse the quantum flow, but using them would create a massive explosion. She began entering the codes on Earth. Dr. Minho detected the quantum disturbance beginning in the Kelver system. "The Omega Protocol is activating," he announced to his team. "Beginning stellar modification procedures now." Around Earth's sun, massive Maldaran engineering ships began altering the star's quantum output. If Captain Hyjin failed to stop the weapon, this would be their only defense. In the Omega Protocol chamber, Hyjin completed the code sequence. The weapon's energy began to reverse, building toward a catastrophic overload. "Evacuation complete," she reported over her communicator. "All Alliance forces, clear the planet immediately. This is going to be a big explosion." But Empress Kalthus had one final card to play. She activated the weapon's emergency firing sequence, trying to launch the quantum cascade before the overload could destroy it. For a moment, both processes occurred simultaneously. The Omega Protocol fired its reality-destroying beam toward Earth while its quantum core overloaded and exploded on Earth. Dr. Minho watched his sensors as the quantum cascade approached their solar system. "Stellar modification complete," announced Dr. Aquos. "Earth's sun is now generating a quantum reflection field." The beam that was meant to destroy Earth struck the modified solar field and reversed course, traveling back through hyperspace toward its source. The Kelver system star began to destabilize. Empress Kalthus felt her planet shake as the quantum cascade she had launched returned home. Her own weapon was about to destroy her capital world. "Magnificent," she said with bitter admiration. "The humans turned our own attack against us." Admiral Sunho received an urgent transmission from Captain Hyjin, who had somehow survived the explosion by taking shelter in a quantum-shielded bunker. "Sir, the Empress is requesting to speak with you directly." The screen activated to show Empress Kalthus in her collapsing throne room. Around her, the palace was crumbling as her star began to die. "Admiral Sunho of the human fleet," she said formally. "I offer the complete surrender of the Kelvoran Empire." "The terms are simple, Your Majesty," Sunho replied. "Complete withdrawal from all conquered worlds, recognition of the Free Worlds Alliance, reparations for the species you enslaved, and the dismantling of all planet-killer weapons. And in return, we'll help you save your star and relocate your people to worlds that can support the 5 years after the fall of the Kelvoran Empire, the galaxy was a very different place. Where once there had been only red markers showing Imperial control, the star maps now showed a rainbow of colors, each representing a free species governing their own worlds. Captain Yoon Young stood on the observation deck of the exploration vessel New Horizon, watching as her ship approached the edge of known space. Beyond the galaxy's rim lay the unknown, countless stars that might harbor new civilizations, new friends, or new threats. "Captain," reported her science officer, Lieutenant Tae-min, "we're detecting artificial signals from the Andromeda sector. Looks like another spacefaring civilization. Any signs of aggression? Unknown. The signals are too distant to analyze properly." Yoon Young nodded. This was exactly the kind of situation that the Free Worlds Alliance had been preparing for. They had learned that freedom required constant vigilance. Back on Earth, the former imperial capital of Kelver Prime and dozens of other worlds, the Alliance headquarters buzzed with activity. Ambassador Sumin prepared for her next diplomatic mission. First contact with a species that had never heard of either humanity or the old empire. "The Zephyrians are a peaceful, scientific species," she told her briefing team. "But they're being threatened by something called the Void Empire from another galaxy." Dr. Sun Wu, now the Alliance's chief communications officer, looked up from his datapad. "The Void Empire? We've been intercepting their transmissions for months. They make the Kelvorans look friendly." "What do you mean?" "The Kelvorans enslaved species but kept them alive. The Void Empire completely erases civilizations from existence. Planets, people, history, everything gone." Sumin felt a familiar chill. Just when the galaxy had achieved peace, a new threat was emerging from the darkness between galaxies on the crystal world of Nexus Prime. Vethklon was coordinating the Alliance's defense preparations. His crystalline form glowed with the energy of the quantum communication network that now connected every free world. "Status report from all sectors," he requested. The responses came in from across the galaxy. Flowsinger Nauthi reported from the ocean worlds. "Multaron fleets are at full readiness. Our